Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is February 14th, 2023. So for roughly half of the population, you know what that means. Um, Feel free to scramble if you have forgotten what day it is. But for the rest of us, it is, of course, CPI Tuesday. We're looking at some of the anticipated expected movement for the market into this catalyst for the year. And what makes this one kind of interesting and a little exciting is one, it's the first time that we're getting a CPI reading for a month of 2023. We had a CPI data release in January, but that reflected December 2022 data. So this will be the first 2023 reading for CPI. And of course, we're getting it in February. Couple of notes about the estimates and expectations. The first one, I'll just kind of caveat, there will be some new methods to calculate the CPI impacts. I'm not exactly sure what those changes have been. There's likely some research that needs to be done just to see, how they're changing the calculation in general. For that purpose, I'm not going to speak on it too much. But what I am noticing based on Trading Terminal's calendar, and I just have today selected, Tuesday the 14th, the economic calendar is showing month over month estimates are expected to come in a bit higher than December 2022 in comparison to November. So essentially, they're expecting a high month over month reading from last year, December, to this year, January. And that slight uptick might be something that the market has been anticipating for today's trade. The rest of the estimates, I would argue they're expecting a slight decrease, especially in the year over year readings. And this is where some of the new methods to calculate CPI value will come into play. And those are the ones that I don't really know much about. So as far as what we're looking for is either some inline estimates, having the values come in as expected. Certainly lower readings would sort of generate at least an initial potentially relief rally, and we've kind of maintained our daily uptrend at this point in time. So I think a lot of overall posturing in the market is at least aligned towards that direction. But the counter argument would be, what are we expecting if the market does see selling? And I think this is where people are making the argument that this is just another bear market rally. The market's getting ahead of itself. We should be looking for sort of short opportunity or downside play. And we'll take a look at that in the case that it does occur. But as always, we want to see what the market is actually pricing in, and then what would be more of a surprise. What's a larger move than what the market has expected for today? So I guess first things first, we'll just kind of look at the big picture here. Once again, I'm assuming a much larger trading range, especially in regards to the relative high that was placed back in August. I do believe that at some point in time, we will be retesting this high and putting up more or less the phase 2 to 3 regions of a sort of Wyckovian accumulation range. That does also mean that we're kind of nearing sort of the top end of risk. Obviously structure should be fairly obvious at this point. We have a clear daily uptrend, a relative trend line that's been acting as support. We've also got our June balance range that's been holding for the time being. We saw a little breach on Friday, but that was, of course, closed inside. And then yesterday, little bit of a bullish continuation drift from Friday's trade. obviously not worth fighting those days to the downside too much, barring a couple of shots maybe in the afternoon when things start to pull back. So very bullish posture. Obviously, we're clearing some hurdles in regards to the 2022 trend lines. But when it comes to today's trade, how volatile can we expect things to be? If you're looking at the SPY, sort of an easy way to generate the expected moves based on the pricing here. Market right now is trading at about 414 in the pre-market. We closed at about 413 on yesterday's trade. Closed pretty high in the session as well. We had an afternoon pullback, and then the rally actually continued right into the close, which was a little bit of a surprise. That's not a usual result from an afternoon pullback into VWAP. But as far as where we're closing and what's priced in, yesterday it looks as if the implied volatility ticked up, in anticipation of this event. Our expected move right now is about 5.1. Arguable, I would give it maybe a little bit of wiggle room, kind of be thinking anywhere from $5 to $6 on the SPY. That would be a relatively normal reactionary candle width. And for the most part, that would be the move that the market's expecting, whether it be higher or lower. Some key strikes that are standing out from the open interest portion of this option chain. Let's see if I can get my Epic pin to load here. Okay. To the downside, just kind of looking, if we do have a bearish reaction, there's certainly a cluster of open interest at 410 and 408. A lot of core trade has kind of occurred at 410. There's been more or less our value zone for the entire June trading range that we're once again kind of bouncing around in. 410 has been sort of our VPOC. So makes a lot of sense that there should be some heavier open interest there. And simply because the market's trading a bit higher, that would be a very clear area to target within the expected move and also based on open interest. There's also a high value node at 405, and it stands out because it's essentially double any other open interest nearby. As we look a little bit lower, that also becomes true at things like 400, just that psychological price. But if you are shooting for something a little bit more outside of the expected move, 405 would be a great place to target. I wouldn't necessarily expect that to occur in one fell swoop. Just the technical side of the market, I would expect some defense near the support areas. But as we saw historically, if we do start dropping from this region, it's a big risky sell point. There tends to be a lot of wild or volatility movement in this region, and we've seen a little bit of an uptick in some of the volatility signals that we often look at. So downside should be fairly consistent with a correlated based sell swing. And this would be one thing to also look for if you are bearish. One thing that tends to happen if the market is selling in a more convincing style is you want to have almost all of your sectors selling at the same time. And most of these rally days, and even on the days where we're actually selling off, we haven't seen full market correlation quite yet. I usually start to get more bearish whenever I see markets correlate, simply because if the market is selling to that degree, not only do I have every force in my favor, all stocks kind of heading in one direction, but it also means that volatility is picking up. Usually when you see correlated selling in a market, it's because of the volatility hedging that starts to take place, as essentially you're long volatility and you start shorting as an institutional firm or a market maker, usually start shorting ES futures to pay for the trade and also to counter your volatility exposure. I won't go into the dynamics of why that happens. It's a bit complex, but we've talked a little bit about it before in regards to how market makers are always facilitating trade. And they're usually long volatility, short volatility as mostly sellers to the option market. So those kinds of things I would look for not only today, but if you were to, let's say, take a bearish shot into some sort of swing position, one, we would need to see a reason to be bearish today. And two, I would look for that correlated sell-off. If it doesn't occur or if it changes throughout the day, I'd have a hard time convincing myself to even think bearish without sort of a breakdown signal, a technical structure that broke. And right now we just don't have that. Two, if we're looking to the upside, kind of looking the opposite way in the market, and the market does decide to continue its rally, there's a couple of things to shoot for. It looks as if there's a cluster of open interest calls at about 420 to 422. I usually think of these as just like a vertical spread that might have been constructed. And because they're out of the money, it's essentially a little bit of a speculation to the upper boundary of the expected move, along with that being fairly well concise with the SPX expected move for this week. If you recall yesterday, SPX is expecting about 105 points this week, of which we could get a lot of it today, just based on how things are shaping up. Hitting 4,200 or just getting to that 4,195 in general, not only would be a great bullish target, but it would be in line with the weekly expected move. To shoot much higher than that, it's kind of the same argument. We'd either need some correlated buying, a market that for the most part has all sectors rallying at the same time, making new highs. Really strong market internals is another way to kind of see it. If you're someone who looks at cumulative tick or sort of advanced decliners, market flow or money flow, any of that would indicate stronger buying and selling, through volatility hedging. So those would be some reasons to maybe shoot for higher targets. For now, I think 420 and 410, with the 408, 422 extremes are great areas to shoot for, because we're right in the middle at about 415 this morning. Looks like we're looking to open at about 414. So those are some things to kind of think about. Same thing for the NASDAQ. If we're looking just at the expected move, NASDAQ's opening somewhere around 305, 306, about a $5 to $6 expected move. And remember, the easy way to do this is just to look for the at the money straddles. If you're pricing those out right now, looks like they're a little higher actually. That might just be because the market's closed right now, but looks like they're priced at about $7. Pricing there might be a little high. So, these technical levels are great. I think more so on days like today, I want to know what the option market is thinking, because as far as who's going to be participating in this trade, it's people like us, the retail side of the market that's engaging in price activity. But there's also a lot of participants who have prepared for this event. They're already in the market. They're kind of showing their hand with some of the open interest. And to some degree, we saw that slight uptick in volatility hedging. So I am preparing for the idea that we could see a downside move. If they are seeing some risk in today's catalyst, it would need to basically show its face today. So these are some of the techniques that I use, and I think it's important to kind of have them for today. As far as structural areas that might also be of interest, there is a gap fill. And I went ahead and marked it at 422.14. That would be, of course, the bullish move, and we would be breaking out once again on this uptrend. If we get that type of reaction, be on the lookout for some sort of sharp counter move against that gap fill. The reason being is not only was that a gap down, but it was the start of the selling back in August. And for the most part, this region should be read as sort of a relative trap for anyone who was essentially buying high in the S&P. Not to say that that means it's going to be a short, but usually when those types of gap fills are completed, you're often getting a lot of what I call like bag holding type selling, or just a release of poor location positioning. Remember that the S&P, you could technically be holding for months or years at a time. So don't disregard the idea that that might be resistance at this point. But once again, if we're shooting to that gap fill, I'd rather play that first and then obviously look for a turnaround later once it hits it. So 422.14 for the gap fill, 420 to 422 for the bull open interest, 410 to 408 for the bear open interest on the put side. And then, of course, if we do start breaking structure, I'd be looking for like 405 down to at most 400. 400 today would essentially be a 3 times expected move breach, just based on how the expected move is calculated this morning. Hence why I'm not really looking for it. Maybe if we sell, that could be a end of week target, but definitely not for today. I would expect something to stop a move that dramatic. This of course was the one time I've seen some of those standard deviations really break down, because you can really see the gap width in this area. It was basically a massive low probability event to the downside. So those are the kind of the levels that I'd be looking for today. As far as stocks to trade, just kind of remember, when we're in a market that's reacting from a catalyst, most of the time it doesn't really matter what stock you pick. The thing you want to avoid is relative weakness if the market is strong, so not really trading stocks that don't necessarily have a strong bullish move to them whenever the market is rallying. I'd rather be in a strong stock whenever the market's strong, because they're more inclined to move better. They tend to move faster, or just have a little bit more range to their expansion. But if you're someone who likes to kind of be closer to the lows on a bullish move, there are some weaker stocks that could rally back. The one that comes to mind has been Alphabet. Massive sell-off, consolidating yesterday on a day like we got in the market where things were a lot stronger. So, if you're looking just at some clear levels, there are some obvious ones on Alphabet. You could play that one just for a recovery trade if the market's strong. Same idea if the market's weak. I wouldn't necessarily want to be in a stronger stock if the market's weak. I'd rather be in some of the weakest names and kind of be shorting them at that point. So definitely be looking for the correlation coefficient that can take place today, but also be looking for which stocks might be the best movers, whether you're bullish or bearish. I think you should have a couple of names regardless of your bias, because the market's going to choose for you. So those are some kind of thoughts I would think about. Let's see. There's a question that came in. Thoughts on Tesla's range today. So just to keep in mind, I don't care about stocks ranges today. Correlation is going to change the image of the chart by a lot. But if you're looking for how it looks before today, the obvious levels you can kind of put together are things like the head and shoulders that might be forming. So you have a sort of neckline risk region that the bulls don't want to lose, simply because it indicates that the structure of the trend is changing. Your shoulder region wasn't tested yet. So you kind of have this area to play with, and you could see that we tested it yesterday. There was a little bit of a bounce, roughly off of 189.55. But if you're looking for where is it going to go, you just need to mark the high of that region after it formed. So it's somewhere over here. You could even mark it a little bit lower if you're just going from here to here. And the thing you want to ignore is the breakout. This is the head structure which collapsed. So Tesla gave back the entirety of that move, therefore head and shoulders, but we don't have the shoulder yet. We don't have the right shoulder. It's forming, and it could be getting tested right now if I'm marking this high. So what are the indicators you prefer to determine if a stock is strong or weak? How far down it is on the day. Make it super simple. Is it trending? And if it's trending, how bad is the selling or the buying? If a stock's up 3% over 1%, the 3% stock's stronger. It also could be moving sort of with a 3x beta, but you basically just want to follow strength and weakness, in both regards. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy, but what I'm saying is a stronger stock on a strong day is likely to continue to be strong, so long as everything continues in one direction. So I'd rather be chasing those versus trying to find something that looks weaker or slower and expecting it to move. Usually those are the ones that don't trade as well. You want, where is the market actually putting the focus? Tesla, I would argue, is one of our stronger stocks in general. The chart right now is a bit overextended. And if we do sell off, Tesla is one that could lose its trend kind of easily just because of the setup up here, which at the end of the day, all it is weekly consolidation. Like, keep in mind, Tesla is up 100% from that low, just high to low. So I checked Tesla already. BBBY. BBBY, I'm not going to analyze too much. I'll follow price action, but for the most part, not super interested in this one. If it's not trading above 2, then I wouldn't even look at it. I want it on days where there's maybe a catalyst involved, and I don't want to be the first buyer. I'm not going to short them unless, it's already selling. I don't want to short it down here because it's at support. So not really what I'm interested in. Where can you listen to the CPI live? If you're just trying to get the data announcement, you can go ahead and go to Trading Terminal. Start the Benzinga news. So just turn on breaking news. It'll start to play once the data is released, along with, if you just want to look at the actual data itself, once it does come out, it should show up in the news as one of the latest news on the top. You could also probably search for CPI, or I'd probably search for the word inflation. Whatever articles show up, you can click that and then start digging in. So let's see. NVIDIA, y'all are looking at stocks on a day when it doesn't really matter. But same idea. NVIDIA collapsed back inside, forming the structure of a head and shoulders. I went ahead and marked just the daily lows. I think I got this one. Yeah, it should be the lowest low after. So right here. This high was printed. There's a low right here. And then this high was rejected. to the point where it collapsed. And it makes sense because we're seeing really good bounces off of this support. So I know it's support, like it's built that way. But it also means that there's resistance here. And, for the most part, these are really strong stocks, but they've been moving for a lot of time. So it would make sense if they start weekly consolidation up here. And that would just be the market kind of selling winners, rotating into new positions, which isn't necessarily bearish. We would need to see a lot of selling across all sectors for that to be considered bearish. So, yeah, and then the weekly, if you ever want to kind of see the structure of things, just go to the weekly. Like the thing that I'm really marking on the daily is the low of a topping tail weekly candle. So in order to start weekly consolidation, I need to break that low. That is kind of the rule, at this point. If it's not doing that, it could trade sideways for a little bit. But a short would probably come from that level. You'd have to break it down. So short PLTR, its earnings. They expected about $1.50 move. They got that. There wasn't anything crazy about the announcement of their earnings. It was a little bit of a beat, but to me, I think this is going to move a little bit more with the CPI first. If I wanted to short it, I would need to see maybe where the put open interest is. And actually, to me, it actually looks more inclined to be a long. Maybe by the end of the week, it's trading at like 10. So the PLTR chart to me is not super bearish yet. It's trading somewhere up here. So it could actually launch off of those. So, okay. So CPI in 2 minutes. I've given y'all some tools and sort of levels to watch. For now, I would say best thing to do is kind of watch what the data is and what the reaction is, but start thinking about if the market wants to move more than those $5 to $6. Usually that's where traders get in trouble. They start thinking that because the market moved a lot, it's going to snap back. And days like today often exceed expectation for movement. We've more than less hit those targets, but kept going in some degree. So I'm actually not really a contrarian trader today. I'm actually looking for movement to one of those price targets, and that would be the ideal setup. So with all that said, I'm gonna let y'all take advantage of that. So trade safe, stay tuned for pre-market prep. We'll talk more tomorrow. As always, have a good one.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Carlos. Well, we got a busy morning this morning. Things are
Yes, we
moving
do.
as we're talking.
Yes, we do. Not sure if I had a chance to look at what the numbers are. I have not been able to hear them yet,
I
but the
just
market
got
is
them.
reacting.
Yeah. So let's start right there. Why don't we just dive right in? Today, if you listen to Engineering the Markets with Jared, it's all about inflation. So our CPI numbers, pretty much they came in line. Core inflation and regular inflation rate month over month were exactly in line at 0.4 and 0.5% respectively. In terms of the year over year numbers, it looks like they were slightly over. Core inflation rate was 5.6 versus 5.5. I think the inflation rate, I didn't write this one down, so I think I heard it was 6.4 versus 6.2. So I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of a drop in the market. Not huge, but a little bit of a drop by just a couple of points because that year over year inflation is still increasing. If you sort of been following what the Fed's been doing, what the Fed's been saying, if inflation keeps going up, they're going to keep putting pressure on interest rates, right, and increasing those. So we saw a little bit of drop. I see it's equalizing now. Said the difference is pretty minor, so that's good. We don't really want huge surprises in the market because that's when things go real crazy. So
Right,
I think
right.
it looks like we're going to stabilize here. As you can see based on the SPY chart on the screen, we've been pretty much going up all year here. And so the market has generally got this bullish posture. I mean, not overly so, but generally they're saying, we're looking at recovery, and we think that we can, sort of push the prices higher. So with that, I expect this market to shrug this off and maybe continue in a slightly bullish posture for the day. But we'll see. Just to reiterate some of what Jared said, the expected move today from the SPY is about $5 to $6. So sitting at roughly 412, that gives us up to about 417.18, and down below that puts us to maybe 407, 406, nothing more than that. So that's the range we should expect to be moving in. If we start to really move outside the bounds, well, then we might have some fun trading on our hands. But that's what we're looking at. So look at this recovery, right? We started with
Yeah.
the negativity right off of the bat, and now look at us pop up here. So should be interesting. Anyway, so that's the big news. Of course, we're seeing this thing pop up right now. We do have some earnings. We'll get to those in a second, and of course, we'll put our regular gappers list together and figure out what it is we're going to focus on when the opening bell rings. If you're trading pre-market, though, just be cautious. I expect this to be a little bit jittery, so it'll be jumping up and down a little bit. So be careful.
Yeah, definitely gonna be one of those crazy mornings as we're seeing right now. And if we take a close look at our gappers list, nothing in the red this morning. Everything's sliding over to the green side of things. So very small list right now. Depending on how the market continues to react, this will change accordingly. So a couple of things that we can look at here this morning. But before we get to that, guys, yesterday was such a tough day. I mean, and mainly because everybody's waiting for today. So now that we got the information today, we'll see how that's going to react overall. But if you look at many tickers that we had on deck yesterday, just a lot of indecision, sideways action. Look at Tesla yesterday. The pre-market action was cleaner and better than the actual open was. Like
Right.
I'd rather be trading this than this, right? It's just incredible. Um,
I was with our members in the chat room through the afternoon, and I was telling them that yesterday I made two statements that I'll reiterate to you guys here right now, which is that one, I felt it was one of my best trading days ever, and I haven't taken a single trade all day. So it was just so choppy that nothing quite set up. There was a lot of like near setups to my strategies, but nothing quite set up. But I felt great about it because I exercised discipline. I didn't get myself into trouble by getting stuck in this chop and sort of sacrificing the rules that I worked so hard to put in place. And usually on days like that is when I sort of get myself into trouble. Now, we had stuff that moved. You look at some other stocks, there's things that moved and looked like they moved quite well. Obviously, my AMD, had a great move throughout
yeah,
most of
yeah.
the morning, but it didn't give me a good entry opportunity. And I was very happy to have sat on the sideline and just watched it. So, I actually felt good about yesterday. Didn't end up taking a trade all day. Even my closing trade didn't really set up, but I felt good about it. So, I hope you had a good day yesterday, no matter what you chose to do. But sometimes, playing that discipline, for me, it was a big day because, it showed me that my mental attitude has changed towards away from the P&L. P&L is not defining what makes a good trading day for me. Following my rules and having discipline is what defines a good day, and that was important to me. So
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
you also,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
So yeah, for the most part, we had all of these things on here. Tesla, I mean, the afternoons were just horrible. Not much going on there. And we had Bob and some other ones. Again, you got an initial move at the morning and then just went sideways. All pretty much waiting for today, for this data to come out, and that has happened. And we will see how this thing continues to react here. So we got a so far, we and on the spot we had a drop, we had a pop, and we're back at it, well, kind of where we opened up a little bit. So we just
yeah,
not opened up, but where we started the move somewhat. We will see how that thing is going to develop. Let's take a look if we could pinpoint something in our gappers list that looks good before this list becomes massive, either one way or the other, or before the gap down starts showing up. If we do go red here on the SPY, so let's take a look at. Oh, look at the first one on here. This is one that we featured some time ago. LCIN. Again, low flow, guys, very, very risky. Right now, the setup is not looking good at the moment for a stock in play. You had an initial pop here, and now you had the drop. So it didn't hold that. So again, recent IPO, I would be careful now, trying to catch any moves here. 3.1 million shares traded. 6.3 float. It's just not a lot going on at the moment. So one initial pop,
yeah.
and that's about it right now. So
Norm would not be happy with us talking about this one, but
yeah,
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 it's a
yeah.
low float, it's a recent IPO, and it's $5. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a risky one if you want to pay
I
attention.
I'm surprised this one hasn't shot up to like 350 yet, but because usually we got those IPOs that just open up and for no reason they go to like 350, 600, then they'll come back down in a couple of days. This one only made it to about 720. So we'll see what happens here. BTU this morning, guys. Not a ticker that trades very well. It's been on our watch list a couple of times. But again, not a huge fan of the way this moves, and today doesn't look any better, or actually might look slightly better for the way they trade. Up 5.9, 265. But again, just not seeing anything great on this. Peter, I'm not sure if you have any type of
BTU's
news.
Yeah, BTU's on the list because they had earnings. They beat both top and bottom line, so a little bit of good news. But you're right; it doesn't typically trade very well.
Yeah. Let's head over down. Okay, look at our gappers list, how small it's just got. So maybe the SPY is going red and things are now stuck between uh 2% towards the upside and below 2% towards the downside. So everything that was just hanging out here is kind of in that middle range right now. And if we go to the SPY, let's see what the SPY is doing. Yeah, so we'll see some friends show up in our gap down list in a second here. FL, oh, Becky's showing up on this list here. Not doing a whole lot at the moment. We'll skip on that. FLNG, oh, same thing, ugly. And coin. What's going on with coin here? So coin at the moment will be just moving with the overall market. This will be a good one today. I believe this will have some opportunities for us. Maybe not a main list. Maybe it's going to sit over in our secondary here. But I think coin really has the potential to give us some good opportunities. It doesn't do so all the time, but out of all the Bitcoins, this is the one that I really like. In a day like today, where things are going to be obviously very volatile, as we've seen so far, this could be a good one to have on deck. Uh, Here's the first one that made our gap down list, Lyft. So Lyft down 2%, making its first appearance. And now Lyft is very interesting because Lyft, as you guys know, had a drop. It was a huge drop from 16 down to 11 and sold off all the way to 10.20. This was, I believe this was earnings, right? This was earnings a couple of days ago. Uber did well and Lyft just got crushed. I think the big part of this, they were losing kind of market shares to Uber. So down a bit today. I'm not sure how great this is going to be. It's just overall market move right now. I don't think you're going to be seeing this type of volume like you saw when it was really in play. 146 million shares traded there, so that's quite a bit. Um, that's all we
There's
have.
a fair amount of market negativity coming around Lyft. A lot of the articles are sort of focusing on the way its model is different than Uber's. They haven't seen
Hmm.
the growth that Uber has. They haven't diversified their sort of product set, and their
Yeah,
costs have been spiraling. So yeah, I think we're going to see Lyft continue to leak and diverge from Uber, whereas before they typically moved fairly, in sync, or at least
yeah.
close to the same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, All right, excellent. Let's take a look at what you guys like this morning. I don't have anything else on this gap up or gap down. Again, as things continue to develop here with the SPY, if we're able to break down a little lower from here, maybe we can get some stuff to pop up. But at the moment, stuff is pretty quiet right now. Peter, anything that you're looking out for on days like this? Of course, AMD, right?
Yeah, well, I'll mention a couple that had earnings. They're not going to show up, just based on volume for us. But if you want to be aware, last night we had earnings on PLTR. They beat their numbers, increased their guidance, and posted their first ever profit. So some
Nice.
positivity on PLTR, if that's one. We've looked at that before. It used to be a great trader. I haven't traded it in a couple of years probably, but it actually has 9 million shares pre-market. So it's been moving pretty well, and you can see it's up almost 14%. So that's actually not looking that bad this morning. Car is another one. This is Avis Budget. Again, they usually get terrible pre-market volume, but they beat their numbers. They're saying the travel sector, part of that positivity in the travel sector. So they're up a little bit. This morning we have earnings from Coca-Cola, KO. Again, another one that almost never moves pre-market. So
Yeah, yeah.
the price action doesn't look good. They sort of just beat on revenue, matched on earnings, so wasn't really much of a move there. And the last one I'll mention is Marriott Hotels, MAR, which also had earnings. Again, not a pre-market mover, but they also beat their numbers. So pretty much a lot of beats going on out there in terms of the earnings that have been announced.
Yeah, yeah. Again, great companies for investment, especially and dividends. Some of them pay really good, especially KO, but just day trading, they're just brutal. All right, at our gappers list, I see a couple of more just kind of making their way in here and then disappearing. OM is one that doesn't trade very well. We've seen this plenty of time, down 15%, barely any volume. CLF, I know you guys, some people like to trade this one. I don't. I don't like the way it trades. I think it's a little choppy at times. But they're on the list here, just barely making the gap down list. So on a day like today, what I'm going to do to prepare is, put our usual suspects on here. We're going to be putting AMD, Apple, Tesla. That is what I'm going to do. I'll take it to the chat room to see if you guys have anything that you like. But these usual suspects are going to be great because and that's definitely not Tesla. Let's get rid of that. That is definitely not Tesla. Here we go. 5.1 million. So this will be definitely heavily in play today. And we'll look at Nvidia and Apple as well, right? So Nvidia already 1.2, just moving with the overall market, and then we'll look at Apple also. These are big tech companies that are going to get the volume and hopefully give us an opportunity today if the market does settle down, and hopefully it trends in a direction. I think that would give us the best opportunity. All right.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's I'm frustrated with myself, Carlos, because we were
Yeah.
watching all the pre-market. I was looking at the SPY, and it looked so much like a short at 415. I'm upset with myself for not having got the $3 on it that it just moved. So must
Mm-hmm.
be sitting in this chair across from you that gives you good pre-market trades, because I don't normally trade pre-market at all. But I'll get
Very
I'll,
nice.
I'll get settled here, and then I'll start to be able to take those great trades.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Um, so yeah, guys, let's see what you guys like this morning. I see FSLY, a lot of you guys throwing that out there over on YouTube and also in our chat. What's going on with them this morning? FSLY. Doesn't look too interesting. Is there any news? Fastly, maybe that's why you guys are bringing that up.
Yeah, their
Earnings.
earnings are coming up. I don't think they've had earnings yet. I think it's at the end of day tomorrow. Yeah, end of
Oh,
day
it's
tomorrow is when
tomorrow.
they've got
Okay.
earnings.
Yeah.
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 So
All right. So yeah, maybe after earnings we can get something out of this. But right now it doesn't look good, guys. Had one move yesterday here, which is pretty nice, 11 to 13. Today they're just kind of hanging out here. But I will wait, for me personally, to see if tomorrow we get some good action out of this one. I have Meta. Yes, Meta could be a good one. Let's take a look here. Yeah, moving with the overall market, and they have been really good to watch as well. So Meta is another one that we can look at. XPEV, how are our other EVs doing today? Here's XPEV, not looking great this morning. What about Neo? These guys have really died down. On a day like today, Neo will be heavily in play with a beautiful pre-market activity. Look at Neo now. It's just really, there's just nothing going on. So nothing to see there. Let's take a look at one of my favorite Chinese tickers, which is BABA. Again, not even very light volume, just not doing a whole lot this morning. So again, we got movement on the SPY, but not a lot that looks great pre-market right now. I mean, we just have to sit and wait closer to 9:30, see what the market is going to give us here. But right now, things are looking very, very choppy, and some not even with great volume.
Yeah. So let me just reiterate for those that are joining late, because I'm seeing some questions both on YouTube and in the chat room. So right at 8:30, we had the CPI, the inflation data that came out. So year over year, the numbers were slightly higher. So if you look at trading terminal, I'm not sure if you have the ability to flip to that. We actually haven't. Doesn't look like it's updated yet, but year over year inflation was estimated at 6.2, came in at 6.4, and core inflation was estimated at 5.5 and came in at 5.6. So only marginally higher. In terms of the month over month numbers, though, they were right in line with the regular inflation rate at 0.5, which was the estimate, and core at 0.4, also the estimate. So there you go. So that's what caused this jump in the SPY right at 8:30, because it doesn't normally sort of leap like that at that 8:30 time. But you can see we had an initial drop, pushed up twice that level, and then right back to just where we started, pretty much a little bit lower. So we're sort of settling in here. We'll see what happens when the markets open. But like Carlos said, a little choppy right now. So tough to pick a direction for any more than a couple of minutes.
Yeah, very, very tough open at the moment. So again, the key is which way are we going to break here. We kind of got our range set, right? We got our range up here and up here as well. So, where are we going to break out of? If you look at our gapless list, we just got a couple of tickers bouncing back and forth, and everything else just kind of stuck in the middle, waiting for this guy to do his thing, and then they're all just going to follow suit. The volume is there. POTR 9.5, Tesla 5.8, NVIDIA 1.3. So you got the heavy volume there, just waiting, saying, hey, SPY, tell us where to go, and we're going to follow you. That's kind of like what we are waiting for. Once they decide to do that, we'll jump in and, and be part of that ride. NVIDIA still added to NVIDIA's here. I like NVIDIA. We will see. I like their daily too. I think it's got one of the cleanest dailies that we have on our usual suspects. And we'll be looking forward to that.
I would say, what you just said made me think, Carlos, that to me, the reaction of the market shows that the big money, right, has not panicked, right? So we saw a little bit of move. It bumped up and down. Usually when you get the big surprise numbers, that's when you see this big sustained volume that happens pre-market, and things really start to move. What I see is that, the larger funds and the major investors have said, all right, no big surprises here. They're just waiting till the market open. We'll sort of see, volume, and they'll make their moves, and we'll see what happens, but there's no panic. So that's, that's sort of the sentiment, I guess, is pretty calm. I would gauge it myself anyways.
Yeah. Let's take a look at it. BEMY. What's going on here? Is that correct? That's not coming up for me. So check that ticker. Oh, Patrick, you got me. I see what Patrick did there over on YouTube. That is, I'm here pulling up tickers, and Patrick is actually doing something completely different. So there's
that's so Patrick's little joke that brings a good point. In all the excitement with the CPI numbers, we can't forget it's Valentine's Day. So hopefully all of you don't forget, for those that in your life, wish them a happy Valentine's Day. You are all here with us this morning. Hopefully you will be our Valentine and show us that by giving us a little thumbs up. That would be great. So
absolutely.
I'd give you a thumbs up if I could too, but I'm asking you now formally, will all of you be our Valentine?
And more importantly, if you forgot today was that day, you know what you have to do. Go rush out there and get that gift, flowers, whatever it is that you do to celebrate. All right, guys, let's take a look here at some stuff you guys are bringing up. Amazon. So Amazon daily does look, it looks interesting. Not better than NVIDIA, though. I really think NVIDIA has the best daily. I mean, it's just so clean. The breakouts are really on here. The last couple of days, we've just been kind of going sideways here, and hopefully get some kind of breakout. that we can take advantage of. But on Amazon, I mean, it's all depending on what the SPY is going to do today, right? So all these tickers are just kind of waiting on that. PLTR is a little bit different because this had earnings and they're gapping up pretty nice, 14.8. Which, why is PLTR not on our gappers list? Just noticed that. Is the ATR really bad? Is that's why? Probably the ATR is
Yeah,
really low.
it's a good question. I mean,
PLTR.
it's got the volume
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
it's right
gapping
there.
up.
Yeah, it's just barely missing it because they
Oh,
haven't been
49
really.
cents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely in play today, guys. Tons of volume here, and again, they have not been trading well. You mentioned this earlier. Hopefully today we can see something good out of this thing. All right, excellent. Let's see what else we have here. PayPal. So PJ saying, did we go over PayPal? I know PayPal was it what they had? Was it earnings? They were in play a couple of days ago. I can't remember
Yeah,
what the
they
reason
had,
was.
I think they had earnings last week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go back in my notes and look
Yeah.
it up. But yeah, it was on Friday that they had earnings. So I think I
Yeah.
haven't seen really any news since then on them.
Yeah. So I mean, they have not been a great trader, guys. The volume, besides the last couple of days and their earnings last week, they haven't really done much, and they're just kind of stuck here. They're really stuck. They've been stuck in this area for a very long time. Now, I'm not saying you cannot get an opportunity if you're able to catch the bottom of this towards the top or the top towards the bottom. There's a very clear range here that you could play off if you play that type of range, but I don't trade that way. Right now, they're just doing whatever the overall market is doing, and they're not doing it in the best, cleanest way neither, right? If you look at like an Apple, if you look at like an Nvidia, they're doing it with a lot more volume than PayPal is. So we just gotta wait for the SPY to settle down and see what today is going to bring. All right, what else, guys? What else do we have? Anything else? Okay, I think we're pretty good, guys. Let's go to community events and announcements and see what we got going on there. Again, it's gonna be a tough day. I got 4 tickers on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just gotta wait for things to kind of pick a direction that we can actually take advantage of. So don't force anything, guys. I know the volume is rushing in on the SPY, and you got these tickers with some heavy volume, so they're hitting, all kinds of scanners and stuff. But just be patient with this process.
So I'll just say a lot of people are asking about Norm. Yeah, Norm's sort of retired from doing the pre-market show, so I'm happy to be able to sort of try and fill his seat. Big shoes to fill here, but following up with him, he's still a member and still in the room and still actively trading. He's just needed a break, which is reasonable because, as he mentioned, he and Carlos, you guys have been doing that for 4 years, so it's
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
long time and a great time. So. Yes, we've got to get those updated on our slides. So the Twitter handle, you can still, you can still tweet Norm. Well, why not? Reach out to him. There's nothing wrong with that. But we'll get mine added on there at some point. But let's talk about what we do in the room every week. So last night we had the onboarding class with Carlos. We do that every Monday. Hopefully, those of you that are new to the room or wanted a refresher were able to join. Tonight, just because it's Valentine's doesn't mean we don't have an event. Yesterday I had to figure what that event was, but it's Andrew who's stepping in. He will be our Valentine tonight, and will be talking to us at 8 o'clock in the webinar room about how he manages his trades, how he partials and scalps at the open. As we all know, he's an expert at it, and doesn't seem to matter the day. He can pretty much always stay calm and turn a day profitable. So yesterday was a great example where he had a couple of trades he had to recover from, didn't phase him whatsoever, right? He just kept to his strategy and ended the day nicely green. So that'll be tonight at 8 o'clock. So if you and your Valentine want to, cuddle around the computer and listen to the webinar, we'd be happy to have you. Next week, Thor is going to be doing his webinar. And Carlos, and that'll be on using the Camarilla points. Always popular. We always get a lot of people who are very interested in it because Thor he plays those amazingly well. So that will be next Tuesday, the 20th. I can't believe it's the 21st of February next week already, but there you have it at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, is always about psychology. So this Wednesday, we have Mike, who's going to be doing a psychology webinar on examining your history with money. And I'll say we don't have it here, but next week we're going to have Randy Howell, who's back, and he's actually changing the format of what he's doing. Got a completely new approach to his materials, so that should be pretty exciting because he's got a ton of insight, and I like the fact that he's changed it all up and he's giving us a new, fresh view as to how he approaches his trading and his material. So that'll be next week. But this week, tomorrow night, we will have Mike talking about your relationship with money. Again, 8:00 in the webinar room. Thursdays are always mentorship days, so that's when you can ask your questions from over the week or anything that's on your mind. John is here to answer them in the mentorship room during trading hours at 11 a.m. and then Thor comes on in the evening and has sort of a Q&A with everybody and goes over strategy at 8:00. So hopefully we will see you there. If you want information at any time on any day, go to Trading Terminal. That's where I've been all morning looking at not only the scanners, but the economic calendar. That gives me information as to what's coming up. I knew that the CPI was coming and understood what the targets were that we were looking at. So there you go. Carlos has got it right on the screen. So very useful to sort of see all the things that are lined up. I didn't really focus on it, by the way, but we got 2 Fed speeches happening at 11 o'clock. They're not going to have any material impact on the market. But it's good to know that stuff that's happening and understand where things are estimated to be. So go to tradingterminal.com. It has pretty much everything that you need, including our insider reporters, our reports, which show you sort of what those who are in the know are doing and where they're placing their bets. The big movers on the market, news articles, of course, as well as all of our educational material. The Academy in there has all sorts of material that's available, including Paris's new course. PJ, I don't know the answer to your question, PJ, but maybe one of our other moderators can answer, or Paris himself if he's in the room. There's a ton of material in there. So if you want to look at some of the Academy courses, you can see we've got them on the screen here. There's some great material in there that you can take advantage of. It's sort of a pay to play, but we're confident you're going to find value in it. And we've had fantastic feedback on Paris's course, for example. He's been just killing it on his trading, but he's got a very regimented methodology that he uses to be able to take and manage his trades, and it's proven extraordinarily effective using tape reading as well as understanding price market momentum. So he's really been doing a great job, and he's sharing sort of his insights with you. Trading, there is no magic bullet, right? If there's one thing, if you've read a lot of books, you realize you got to figure out what works for you, and what we can do is provide the material, the training, and the information so you can figure out how to trade best for yourself. If you want to come and join us, meet us live, right? Meet all of us who are active in this community. We'd love to see you in San Diego. It is, I was looking the other day, we're 2.5 weeks, 16 days from today away from going to San Diego, and it's fantastic. So March the 2nd and 3rd are the days of the Live Trading Summit. It's a 2-day event. First time we've done the 2-day event, because that gives us the opportunity that we'll be trading live with you in the room. Andrew will be doing live trades right in front of you. You can ask questions. We do that in the chat room, but it's different when you have people live, and we'll all be there as moderators to answer questions sort of at your desk side. So you can choose to trade with us or just watch. We also have webinars, and we've got a dinner event. We've got special guests who are going to be speaking to us from trading psychology. We got a special guest. She's fantastic, and going to be coming in. And then in the evening, we have entertainment for you, right? We've got a dinner, which is just a sort of a social event. You can bring a spouse, a loved one, or a friend, and they can join in the evening. Scott Ward, who's a trader himself, but also sort of a fantastic I don't know, what a magician. What is Scott? Scott is like a master of all trades. I got to tell you, he blew my mind when he was picking people out of the crowd and sort of telling us their birthdays and guessing things that they had no business knowing. It was quite stunning. A hypnotist. Is he a hypnotist as well? I don't know, man. He was doing everything. It was nuts. So I can't wait to see him again in San Diego. So hopefully you'll join us there. It'll be a fantastic event. If you want to join us in the room, though, we're not just the live events. We're live trading every day in our chat rooms, and I have to say rooms because we got 2 of them, but we'll come back to that in a second. But here, you can join as an introductory member for the cost of $24. Use the code PreMarket24. That gives you 1 week access just to see if it's for you. $24, right? I mean, really, nothing to lose. Just test it out. And we're confident that you'll find value and you'll want to join as either a basic, elite, or an annual member. You can see the rates there. The best deal is always on the elite annual membership because if you sort of pay one time, it gives you that discount. So hopefully you will join us in the trading room at some time soon. I just alluded to the fact that we've got 2 trading rooms. Not only do we have our live, stock trading room that we talk about and we work on all the time, we have a new options room that Jared is running with the help of Megan. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So not today, but yesterday and tomorrow, they will be there, and it's great, right? And you don't have to be an expert. In fact, the whole point is that we've got people who are just trying to figure out what is an option, right? What's a put? What's a call? What do I do with them? How do they work? To those that are expert in doing eagle, double, iron, cross, you can tell I need to attend to learn more about it. But it's a fantastic learning place. So, hopefully you'll join us both for our live stock trading room and our options room. With that, we got some levels to set and see how the open is about to shape up.
All right, excellent. Let's jump right in, guys, and see what we got going on here. So far, the SPY hasn't done much, hasn't really broken out of this range and really just going sideways at the moment. So as you see in our gappers list, not much change from earlier. Everything's still intact. We got a couple of tickers coming in here like UPST for the most part. Doesn't trade very well, and the same thing on the top that we saw earlier. So not a whole lot of movement, but volume is still gathering here in some of the tickers that we have: POTR, Tesla, Nvidia, and Apple, but really just a lot of sideways action at the moment. So the levels for today are going to be very easy because if you notice, if you look at Tesla, for example, we really haven't gone anywhere since we had this run in early February, end of January, or well, all of January, as you can see there. And we haven't really gone anywhere. We've just been kind of heading sideways at the moment. So a lot of these levels overlapping our gap up and gap down. I'm sorry, our highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. And if we're going to mark for Tesla, for example, I'm going to look at the high we just created here when the SPY got going. And it looks like, are we getting in a little bit of a downtrend, or at least getting into the red here a little bit at the moment? You got the previous day close, you got the highs and lows, and also the low from today, heading at 192.25. So once you set those 2 levels, really your high and low for today, that's all you really need. You look across the board here, you're kind of stuck within this range at the moment. Not a whole lot of levels you need to really add. If you are able to break out of the high and the low towards the top, you do have the highs from 2 days ago. And then towards the bottom, you do have the low from yesterday. We can get another low in here just in case. And that's going to be over at 182.55. So you got a nice range there right now for Tesla. Keep it very simple. Don't complicate it. We'll see what kind of action we're going to get. Here's Nvidia, same thing, guys. Again, just a lot of sideways action at the moment. High of the pre-market on Nvidia, we're looking at 222.02. Plenty of 2s there for you. Towards the bottom, we're looking at 214.80. So we will slam a level there. And then outside of that, guys, very similar to what Tesla and I'm sure Apple is going to look like when we look at it next. It's just a lot of range type plays here, kind of stuck within the middle of these levels at the moment. So we'll wait to see for a breakout. If we are able to break out above that 222, we do have 228. And then towards the bottom, just want to get one more in case we get a big move. We have 201.17, right? So we'll see what kind of action Nvidia is setting up for today. Apple's daily, interesting because we keep slamming against this 154 right on here, 154. 153.85 is your previous day close, but just right in that area, we keep slamming up against that. Just building a lot of pressure there. Hopefully, if we see some strength, we can get a nice breakout like we saw back on the 3rd here of February. So February got a nice little breakout above that. We did slam back down, but we're able to reach 157. So a breakout of a couple of bucks there towards the top would be really, really nice. At the moment, not looking so hot. We are actually coming down to the low of the pre-market over at 152.76. And then below that, guys, highs and lows for the last 2 trading days, doing a pretty good job collecting the levels there for you. So don't really have to do anything else there. Let's look at PLTR. Now, PLTR for me is a hit or miss. I don't really like the way this thing trades. Today, though, we have some exceptional volume at 11 million shares traded. A lot of sideways type pre-market activity into 8 o'clock. And then obviously the numbers came out at 8:30 and we're seeing some more action there. But it looks like it was trading before 8:30. It was trading a lot better on this drop. And then 8:30 comes out and then everything just kind of, the SPY takes over and says, hey, guys, this is what we're doing here. Just a little bit of sideways stretch for us, not really breaking out anywhere. So could be interesting. I might move this down to more of a possible, actually. Low of the pre-market 852. The high is 915. And once you mark those levels there, I think you're pretty much set for the most part. Another one here at 823, a lower price stock too. I do like the volume on it, but I think just it's not trading all that well. That would be nice if you could do that, but you can't. I was going to drag PLTR like I would drag something that was created in the 20th century, but no, this is a little bit older, so we'll just type it in, PLTR, and we'll delete it from here. Reminds me of a AS400 IBM type system where everything is on a keyboard. You don't even have a mouse. There we go. But I do love this program.
I'm old enough, Carlos. I remember when I first used a computer with a mouse, and I'm like, a mouse? This is terribly inefficient. It'll never catch on. Why wouldn't you just enter the command string? It's so much faster once you've learned it. But
I gotta tell you this. I did order entry in a AS400 system from IBM. I forgot the actual code, and everything was a black screen with numbers, right? Yeah. And once you learn, 6, 7, 3, 4, 1, type in the name, you can move. There's no way a mouse can keep up with that. But you had to learn that first. I mean, the coding was so fast. But yeah.
I remember I used to, before Excel, there was Lotus 1, 2, 3, and I had all the commands. Everybody remember that? You hit Alt and then, backslash, and then, I had all the letters memorized. I could, play that thing like a fiddle. And I'm like, this mouse thing, you got to point and click and drop down menus, and this is like so terribly inefficient. It's crazy. What kind of an insane person would use a mouse?
We'll use this thing.
I know. Well, it shows how we can all be trained, right? We've all been conditioned. We will use the technology they give us.
Absolutely. See. So Susan remembers it. AS400, she used it 20 years ago for coding. Yeah, I used it just 2005. I was using that. So my company was pretty outdated. And then they brought the infamous SAP, which, man, that slowed us down big time. Almost bankrupt the
Barbara's
company.
making fun of us. I remember when movies were in nickels, she says. Yeah, I do sound like an old man a lot of times these days, but I have a new appreciation for the elderly because they're not wrong. I realize now. It's just that's what happens when you get older. What groceries? I keep telling the story. I came home with 4, those little plastic baskets they give you instead of bags nowadays that you use when you go to the grocery store. I came home with 4 of those, and there was like $400. I think I went on for like 3 days with my wife and every friend I ran into. $400. I remember when I buy $400, that was 2 like shopping carts worth of groceries, and that's what we bring home and blah blah blah. Anyways,
it's crazy. I remember being a kid and $100 will fill up a shopping cart. Easily.
Oh yeah, easy.
It was amazing, beautiful thing. But yeah, now I always forget to bring the bags with me. So I'm the guy at the grocery store putting everything in the cart with no bags, and then putting it in the trunk, and everything's flying around all over the place. So yeah, I gotta get used to bringing the bags because we just got rid of them here in New Jersey not so long ago. All right, guys. We're all set. I mean, there's not a whole lot to look at right now. We have Tesla, we have Nvidia, we have Apple, but really all eyes at the moment are to see what the overall market is going to do. If you look at if you look at SPY, look at everything else, everything is moving with the SPY. I see our moderator is only you, Peter, that has put the list together, and that's because there's not a whole lot to watch, right? And your list is made up of AMD, Tesla, and Apple. and then some secondary stuff on there with earnings, PLTR, KO, and Meta. So, yeah, yep.
Yeah,
So
and
here,
to what we were talking about earlier, look at the SPY, the chart that Carlos has got. We can see again, not a lot of panic, right? We had that big move when the CPI number, the inflation numbers came out. Look how the volume has dropped off. To me, that's the most significant. Whether you look at the 5 or the 1 minute chart, you can really see that volume just tapered off, which means the markets are pretty calm about it.
yeah,
There's no panic right now. So I think we're going to go lightly into the open. We're probably going to see some directional movement, but again, don't assume that direction. Right now, we're looking a little weak, but I'm not assuming that we're going to go down. I honestly don't know at this point. We'll wait and see, and hopefully, we'll get a good trading day. I'm actually trading live with our friends at Peak Capital, so I've got a live camera. You may notice I got my laptop sitting behind me. We'll be
nice.
live streaming all of my screens, and I'll be showing them my trades as I take them in real time. So that's part of what we do in boot camp. So should be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, excellent. That definitely will be fun. All right, guys, 9/11. Right now, as far as our watch list, I see Susan coming in, Thor throwing his as well. Again, very light list this morning from a lot of our moderators. We'll wait for a few more, then we'll hand it over to Brian to take us, prepare us for the market open here. Excellent. What else do we have, guys? All right, pretty good. Just seeing if anything else on our gap up list, but no, pretty quiet as far as things coming up here. Here's SEDG. SEDG. No, nothing happening right now. It's gapping down 5%, but this looks like a stock that's very difficult to trade. Very high price, very low volume. So yeah, this could be very difficult to try to spot a price action. I mean, just look at the open on this was yesterday. Opens with no volume whatsoever. So although it's gapping down today, I don't expect this to be a good one. So we'll keep that off the list for now. Do you need a CFA to join P Capital or other similar trading firm? No, you can use any platform.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can use any platform. You could join whatever you're using now. You don't need any special requirements or credentials or anything. So SI is spiking. I saw SI coming up here. Oh, look at SI here in our gap up list. So up 8%, 9% this morning. 73 short interest on this thing. So that is quite high. And this is definitely could turn into a massive short squeeze. 27.7 million shares flow. So this is a low flow that actually can be in play today if it continues to go here.
Wow, 78. That is a massive short float number. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the news. There hasn't been a lot of news on it, but even the news going back to last week, they're saying tough to find a reason why it's rallying. It's probably just rallying because there's so many people short that every little jump up gets people panicky and exiting their positions, which causes buying.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wouldn't be trading this myself.
No, very risky. I'll have it here for entertainment purposes only, but I would not be trading this neither. If you do like to trade these, lower flow stocks and squeeze memeing type opportunities, be very careful with them. Okay. All right. AMD's in play. I mean, not in play. Nothing is really in play right now. Besides, PLTR is the only one that has its own thing going on. Everything is just kind of following the overall market. I do have room to add AMD, but for the most part, it's just everything is following the SPY, which seems to be heading lower here, trying to test this low of the pre-market. Let's see what it does here. If it breaks down from here, you're going to see this gappers list get very heavy towards the downside. So we'll see what it does there. All right, here's our moderators list, guys. We'll bring this over, and then we will call it a day. Well, not call it a day. We will switch over to Brian, and Brian will take us through the rest of the morning here. All right, let's bring this over. If you haven't done so already, guys, over on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it very much. Let's see here. here
We'll see. Well,
is.
Carlos is bringing that up. The first thing on that list are my IPOs, and we'll see what happens. This BF, both BFRG, which is Bullfrog, and INTS, they've been on the list in the past, and I don't know what's going on with them, but they keep popping on the list, and then they never open, and then we go a few days or a week, and then they pop up on the list again and still don't open. So I don't know what's happening, but we'll see if either of those two open. And we're seeing a return of some SPACs. I actually haven't seen any for a couple of months, and SPAC, in case you're not aware, special purpose acquisition company. Really, it's just a bucket of money used to buy other companies or invest in other companies or technology. We're seeing two new ones come up, DISTU and MARKU. You can tell they're almost always 5 letters ending in a U. Not always, but most of the time. So they don't usually trade very well. Typically, frankly, you should probably just avoid them, but I put them up there in case anyone's interested. My watch list for today, I'm going to be watching the usual with AMD, Tesla, and Apple. I think in a market day like today, when we don't have anything specific moving, those are probably going to be the best to keep an eye on for me. But I will keep an eye on PLTR and KO as they both had earnings, and Meta is looking interesting to me as well.
All right, excellent. Peter, do we have the IPO list over on tradingterminal.com? I'm not sure. It probably is. I probably just don't know where it is, but
yeah, if it's being posted over there, I'm not aware. I posted in our chat room, but I don't think it gets over to Trading Terminal.
Okay, Jack, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you on that. It could be in here, but I'm just not sure. Oh, here it is. Yep, it is actually over in calendar. So if you come over here, go to calendars, and you click on IPOs, you can see.
Oh yes, sorry. They have a general list of IPOs that come up. I find that we're still working on that part of it. So
it's a tough one, because what happens is, I guarantee you, things, they're listed here, but they end up not opening up so many times that that's a tough thing to track, right?
Exactly, and that's why for me to put it together, I check 4 or 5 different sources, and then try and give you sort of my aggregate. But like I said, I've probably put Bullfrog on my list, BFRG, 8 times now over the last 2 months, and it hasn't opened yet. So you can't trust it. Usually what I do is I provide live alerts to all of our members in the chat room, so when it actually does open, the second it opens, I send an alert in the room. So that's how we keep on top of it.
It's tough with the way things change. All right, here it is, guys. The man of the hour, Brian, looking at Tesla, PLTR, AMD, Meta, and BTU for him today. And that is going to do it for us, guys. So Brian's going to come on and look at some of the stuff he's watching, give us his take on the overall market and where he feels we are going today. So,
I'll mention Megan. On Megan's list, she mentioned Boeing, BA. She tends to look longer time frames and trade ranges. She's absolutely right. I think, in her words, in the chat room she put in, it looks hella sexy. I like it. But look at it on a daily. If you zoom out on the day, it's been in this consolidation range, but it's right at the top of that range. So if we get any move up on the market, BA looks poised to break out. So we'll see what happens. It's going to need market support, I think, to do that. But if it gets it, it's looking pretty good.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, we are all set. Wait for Brian to come on. Just be on the lookout. Let's wait for Brian to hop on. Be on the lookout for news, because they had that 777 that went like 700 feet above the ocean water. So be on the lookout for that. It takes a while for them to figure out what went wrong, but hopefully it's not an aircraft issue, because if it is, you're going to see Boeing react like it normally does. Every time they find something wrong with one of their planes, you get an issue of a drop here. So be on the lookout for that. But I agree. Daily looks pretty nice here if we can get a nice breakout. And the way Megan trades, this is perfect for her, the way it's setting up here. As we wait for Brian, we also have Susan looking at Tesla and Apple, still sorting through some of the stuff as the news continues to break out here on CPI, or at least the SPY. Thor looking at the SPY, the Qs, NVIDIA, Tesla, and as we mentioned already, Megan, BA, and Tesla on her list. All right, very good.
All right.
Just going to wait for Brian so you don't have an awkward silence. We'll wait for him to come on board.
Get Brian, and it looks like we can get Andrew in there as well. I see him.
See Andrew. Before we switch over, here's Andrew's list, guys. He's looking at Tesla PLTR, which again had earnings So that you're seeing a lot of activity there. AMD and NVIDIA as well, a couple of our usual suspects this morning. Guys, trade safe. Stay tuned for Brian and Andrew up next over on YouTube.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Have a great, safe trading day.
Is looking good. I can kind of see it's up into a trading range. Let's take a look at that. So quite a morning. It was just the indexes were all over the place, and now we've kind of picked a direction. Seems like we're down a little bit on all the indexes right now. Yeah, I can see.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah,
Happy Valentine's Day to my wife and her boyfriend. I hope that they are enjoying the spousal support that I'm paying. No, but seriously, happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Laugh at it.
Yeah, I hope. Since you guys are so in love, why don't you switch your phone with your partner for a day, just for a day? I saw a tweet that somebody says, if you're so in love and all posting pictures, just switch your phone for one day.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, to really have a Valentine's Day, everybody. Take your loved one to dinner, and
I still love
Mike
you.
is here in the chat room. Mike and Vinod, one of our traders. Mike, come say hi. Mike is trading here. And Vinod, come and say hi. Mike and I went for the Valentine dinner last night with Vinod.
Yes, we're going to go today too.
And Vinod, our traders from Toronto, is coming and trading with us. Yeah. Awesome.
This one may be a little bit more awkward because it'll be just us. Because Artie's probably going with his girl.
Vinod is coming too.
Oh, so all right, so we're good.
It's a three-way dinner. Okay.
Three-way. All right. Well.
All right. So let's see. Tesla's now. So what was the inflation number? It was bad, huh?
It was pretty much in line. There was a few things that came in a little bit higher than expected. So many numbers to digest. Core, without housing, without energy, without food. Hard to know what to look at. Anyway, Tesla's dropping. I'm already short.
So, Tesla.
Yeah. Oh.
All righty. So yeah, I think probably market is gonna do some volatility today, although really didn't gap down or up, but I would say might trade very volatilely, if that's the word.
Not really.
So
might be.
You just invented that.
Yeah, I think so.
PLTR gap up a lot, 13%. But PLTR generally, I remember that it was trading really bad. I don't know. I mean, we used to trade this long time ago.
Yeah, it doesn't trade very well.
But let's see.
All right.
Let's see what goes.
I'll take some off at 92. I'm going to take some off at 92 on Tesla.
Tesla is going to be, I can't believe that those calls at 215 and 220 on Tesla.
I know.
Squeezed
No.
on that, man. It's such a hard game,
It
this
happens.
trading. You think you figure out something, and then market squeezes you.
BTU could be. The only thing is I don't know that it trades that great. It's not getting great order flow right now.
I'm gonna probably wait for a couple of minutes, see what's gonna happen. NVIDIA is up, AMD is up.
NVIDIA is green, is red. Most
No,
of the
sorry,
stuff
I
on
mean
my
up in the daily chart. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Meta looks like it's weak. It's trading right at a support level. NVIDIA was green earlier. I don't know.
But yeah, so the moving average is saved overnight. So all my stuff's still there.
So what do you think? What do you think on BA? Say, what do you think, Megan? Are you gonna short this, or are you gonna take? Are you gonna wait at 216 to short it if it pops at the open? Yeah, I know. No, yeah. I haven't looked at Apple. I generally don't trade Apple. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, Meta's dropping. Here we go. Got to fill Tesla. Palantir looks weak. Wonder if Kathy Wood's been buying more. Ooh. All right. Well, we've got 2 minutes to the open.
2 minutes to the open.
Nvidia's still
Meta. What's Meta? I think you have Meta on your watch list.
Yeah, it's really weak. 1%. I don't know I don't know why it's dropping. There's a level on Tesla at 189.30. It might 189.70. Yeah, everything's looking weak.
Microsoft popping.
Yeah, Microsoft is the only thing that's sort of green. Cathie Wood SARK ETF is green.
Apple is down 1%. So what's going to happen? So this inflation number, it came a little hotter than expected, huh?
Just a fraction. I saw some of them. It came in at 0.5, and they were expecting 0.4. So, I mean, I think there was some good news and some bad news in it, but I don't think. But I think the market ran up into this sort of expectation. So,
Yeah, so we go to if you go to trading terminal, inflation year over year estimate was 6.2, actual came 6.4. Year over year, month to month came 0.4, exactly what they were expecting. So
yeah, here we go. We're open.
Open. NVIDIA is popping.
Just covering some more Tesla, 191. Whew, it's covered. I'm pretty much out of Tesla now after that drop down to 190. That was it. Oh, BTU's dropping like a stone.
Yeah, let me share my screen again.